I had a question just recently where somebody asked me, Tom, have you ever struggled with dysmorphia? And in bodybuilders' cases, you're never big enough. And you take a look at thousands of people across America, across Canada, who are about 16, 17-year-old, they're skinny. What do they end up doing? They end up getting tempted by taking steroids. They want to get bigger, they want to look better. And you've got some of these 40, 45-year-olds who are getting into TRT to regain their former youth. They take the TRT, all of a sudden they're 10 pounds bigger. I was 215 pounds at one time and I felt small. I was 185 pounds shredded. I felt small. It seems like every time I look in the mirror, I feel small. You might be looking at this saying, well, you are small, you are a twig. No, I'm not a Jay Cutler, I'm not a Kai Green. I am natural, I don't take TRT, and I like it this way. But the truth is, I do feel small, even though I'm about 185, 186 right now. The only time I feel big is when I pump up after a workout and the arms just swell up completely, the chest swells up, and you walk around, you've got a window of about 15 to 20 minutes where you actually look jacked. And you guys know what I'm talking about. So right before you go to the beach, you're in the change room, you're doing push-ups, you walk around, you strut your stuff. Maybe you've been there. I've done it before when I was a little bit younger. I don't do it now. I don't give a shit now. But dysmorphia is still a reality for me. And as you get a little bit older, you're kind of looking at yourself going, man, fuck, I'm wearing away. Hence the reason why I'm making this video. What can you do about it? A long time ago, I was influenced by Arnold Schwarzenegger. I looked at the Guinness Book of World Records, and there Arnold Schwarzenegger was the world's most perfectly proportioned man. And as a kid, I looked at that and said, that's the way I'm supposed to look like. I started looking him up. I started seeing the pictures. And back then, they didn't have any social media, so you only saw the best of Arnold. You never saw the worst of Arnold. But then you take a look at some of his pictures in the off-season where he's not taking steroids, or he's a little bit heavier, or both. He's not taking steroids, nor is he carrying the leanness that he normally does. And you seem like he's just a normal guy. Finally started working out, day of my birthday, December 3rd, 1970. Bought my York dumbbell set it up. I was ready to go. And it was at that time that I looked at some of the bodybuilding magazines after making some progress. And I went from 135 to 155, 155 to 175, 175 to 190. I was killing it in the gym. Looked at the bodybuilding magazines. Who do I see on the cover? To me, the perfect physique was Gary Stradham's physique. And he had competed in one of the Olympias. He was super shredded. He looked super lean, good muscle bellies. I looked at him and I said, I think I can do that. Being so naive, as a 18-year-old guy, you think you can do this without steroids. I wasn't going to go that route. He wasn't that big. And then you saw the top three guys. You saw Lee Haney, Rich Kaspari, Barry DeMay. Wonderful physiques. I mean, Lee Haney was a little bit on the bigger side. Rich Kaspari was a little on the shorter side, but I figured it's possible. I can get to maybe an intermediate level, maybe not top quality Mr. Olympia. Had these delusions of grandeur that I could get there. I got excited. I got excited about training, and that's where the more is better approach was. Started looking at the magazines, training 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, just as most of us do. Now, back then, would I have been satisfied with the physiques of yesteryear? You look at a guy like Frank Zane, lean body, not overly big. Yes. Would I have been happy with Steve Reeves' physique? Absolutely. But back then, that wasn't my mindset. My mindset was taking it to the limits of my body. Like, I wanted the perfect body back then. And again, you're naive to think that you can get it. So I started trying to get bigger, started training heavy, trying to get that skinny body into something big. I felt skinny at 170, I felt skinny at 190. And when I got to 215, I still felt skinny. It never went away. So how do you relieve this? How do you fix this situation? Was steroids the answer? And I remember somebody saying to us in university, hey, Tom, steroids are available. Are you thinking of taking it? I said no. We went to a competition. We saw this guy, and clearly the guy was on roids. He placed first in the Ontario Championships. And I said to my buddy Rob, I said, we're done. I'm just going to train for, I guess, just for aesthetics, to look our best, feel strong, feel healthy. And that was it. And then in 2000, I uncovered a natural bodybuilding organization. And one of the worst things I did was I looked at the champion at the time in 2000. And it was Dave Whitehead. Now, again, this is the dysmorphia thing kicking in. On the poster cover, you see Dave Whitehead. It's the best picture of him, jacked up and ripped. And I compared my present self at the time versus Dave Whitehead. I said, I'm never going to beat this guy. I'm not competing. So I kind of itched towards competing, tried to get better, and I said, fuck it, I'm not going to beat Dave Whitehead. It's just not going to happen. I give up. It was years later. I was age 36, my first competition ever. It was a natural competition. It was the Southwestern Natural Championships. And I said, fuck it, I've got to do this. Got to do this once and for all. And then, of course, you've got the heckler saying, that's not his first competition. He's trained before. He's on steroids. There's no way somebody can look that good. And I remember my brother-in-law at the time looked at the guy and said, who the fuck are you, man? This guy is totally 100% natural. He trains out of his basement. The following year, it was 2008, I competed for the Mr. Natural Canada, and I won it. Guess who was backstage at the Mr. Natural Canada? Dave Whitehead, the guy that I saw in 2000 on the poster. He looked at me after the competition, after I won, and he said, dang it, I'm so glad I didn't have to compete against you. I'm like, fuck, man, I actually said that back in 2000. Now you're saying it now? Again, dysmorphia. I didn't give myself credit for what I had. After the Mr. Natural Canada, started training like crazy. People again offered steroids, and I said, absolutely not. I don't want the gyno. I don't want to get the bloated stomach. I'm just not going that route. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do it naturally. I'm going to do it with high intensity. I'm going to go all out. Those 3 days a week, just balls to the wall and get the results I want. And through persistence, my body started to grow. I competed in Pittsburgh in a natural amateur contest with the OCB. Really tough competition. There were a lot of tigers out there, really, really tough competitors in every single category. In every single weight class, those guys could have turned pro. The judge saw it my way. They saw me as the guy. And sure enough, the judges panel said afterwards, they said, you're going to do damage at the Jordan Cup. And when I heard that vote of confidence, I said, you know what, I can do this. So I did compete that year at the Jordan Cup against some of the best middleweights in the country. You look at a guy like Philip Ricardo, Cleveland Thomas, who ended up becoming an IFBB pro, Eric Alstrop, who ended up becoming an IFBB pro. I came fourth out of those four guys. It was still an honor. And then I took my physique to the next level. Again, high intensity. And if you take a look at this picture, my before and after, I actually made size increases. I probably gained at this point about 6 pounds in a year, and I looked good. I looked lean. I looked ripped, all natural, no testosterone. I believed that I could do it, and I was never going to go the steroid route. So once again, what you got to do sometimes is get yourself pumped up and take some pictures and look at yourself before and after. Maybe I don't have this dysmorphia, because every time you see yourself day in, day out, you don't really know if you're making progress or not. It's somebody else who sees you a year later and says, holy shit, you look great. But again, in your eyes, in your perception, all you got to do is go by a shitty mirror and you're like, fuck, I look skinny. Or look at another mirror and like, wow, I look really wide. And it's going to tell a different picture. So where does this leave that? A lot of people take a look at a guy like me or a natural bodybuilder and they'll say, you look like a twig. One guy, in fact, said that. I'm like, fuck you, dude. Look at you. You look like a fat fuck. But regardless, you take a look at former champions. You take a look at a guy like Dorian Yates, who used to be massive, and now he's just a normal guy. You take a look at a guy like Ronnie Coleman, king of the world, one of the best bodybuilders ever, and it's actually sad to see him now. You got this picture here of Gunter. Gunter looked unbelievably good. He actually had one of the more aesthetic physiques, and you look at him before and now, and he looks amazing now. Just completely changed his physique, a lot smaller version, tighter version, a little more athletic version. And again, it's in the eyes of the beholder. So where does that leave you? Where does that leave me? My take on it is this. I've got my head straight a little bit more, saying I don't necessarily need more mass. What I need is a strong heart and lungs. I need a strong body. I need to feel like a champion. I need to perform well. I look at a guy like Yoel Romero. I'm pretty sure Yoel Romero was taking stuff. But you look at his physique, he's not overly big. The people who criticize me are going to say that guy's a twig, but he's a fucking monster. He performs well. He can do the splits. That guy can kick anyone's ass in the ring. I want to feel the same way at my age. I want to feel athletic. Gone is the day that I want to be 215, 220 pounds. I just want to be healthy. And I think you take a look at the bodybuilders today, a lot of guys who are taking the GH, who are super massive, what's happening to them? They're croaking. They're dying at age 50, left, right, and center. It's not a week that goes by that I don't see somebody passing away that's actually pretty young, who should have lived longer. So is that what you want? This whole body dysmorphia, I think you need to switch things around and maybe change things towards maybe more of a classic bodybuilding look. I think they're moving towards that route anyway, or something that's healthy for you, where you're lean, you're muscular, you're strong, you're athletic, you can still do things. You you can run fast, you can perform, you're flexible. I think that's the goal. I don't want to impose on anyone. If you want to be a mass monster, I mean, all the more power to you. I respect the fact that you want to be that strong, you want to be that big. It's not without some potential dire consequences somewhere down the road. So I hope this video resonated with somebody where they're looking at this video and saying, shit, I know how this guy feels. I felt the same way. I still feel the same way. And understand that you can develop a wicked body by getting your protein right, getting your calories right, getting a proper weight training routine, sleeping properly, and just doing the right things consistently. And then you compare you to your previous best. Right? Try to be better than what you were last year. So I hope this helped. I love talking to the people who comment on my posts, and it's really good to see that we're building a community where we're supporting one another, we're sharing ideas. That's the point of these videos. If I can lead by example and hear some of your stories, and maybe you can lead by your own example with some of your results, that's the point of this channel.